So as a group of sales leaders and also recognizing revenue management leaders, we're going to talk about 3 things today. I'd like us to begin with briefly discussing what your greatest challenge is in the sales or revenue management arena. So who'd like to jump in?
I think we can all agree that it's the convergence in the distribution and the customer space, the intermediaries.
So does everybody agree with that?
Well, I think I have an additional one. I think that one's very important, but I think also the retention, the attraction of sales talent. I mean, keeping good salespeople motivated, teaching them maybe how to be different salespeople in the future as the business changes and the complexity of hotels change, but just overall just trying to keep good sales talent in hotels.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and you know what, I'll pick up on that. I agree with both themes, but on the talent theme, it's also preparing our salespeople for the customer of the future. Customers are changing as well, whether they're becoming more global or whether they think differently, and they need a different kind of consultant. So I think that's another piece of the talent equation.
Wonderful.
When I think so often sales has got a bad rap because we're just order takers. And I think I agree to retain great salespeople and teach them the correct ways to sell, as per your conversation earlier.
Yeah, in some respects, they go, the 2 themes we just mentioned go hand in hand, because if we're going to try to, contain cost or reduce cost while increasing revenues, people have to think differently. Salespeople, you have to find people that are more business strategic minded, that will kind of focus on what you said, as well as still drive the top line revenues.
And I agree with you. I think that people look at salespeople as only relationship value, and there is a lot more that salespeople should be offering today. They do need to understand the distribution space, how to have those relationships with intermediaries to grow their business. So a lot of it is combined.
Yeah, even having the opportunity to build that relationship anymore. A lot of times you have customers that we're only engaging with over email, or you may never even have a phone conversation with them because that's not how they want to do business. So that's become another challenge that we're facing.
I was going in the same direction. There's so much inflow now of information, electronic RFPs, that being able to prioritize and to qualify and to actually determine and focus on targets that will be optimal in terms of their contribution is more and more difficult to do, because you can come in the morning and there'll be plenty that'll be coming, through the tube at you. It's making sure that you're prioritizing the best opportunities.
How much time do you think as leaders that you spend on these issues you're talking about? Because you've mentioned, I agree, fundamental issues. Just roughly speaking, how much time are you spending on sourcing talent, training talent, teaching them distribution, revenue management, those kind of things, roughly speaking?
At a property level, there's a great deal of time that you have to spend individually with your sales teams, because you do have a less experienced staff that's coming in, and it is changing so quickly, more quickly than, the salespeople of today are faced with different issues than what we were faced with when we were selling. And so, going on calls with them and being with them and understanding those challenges and handling those leads, it keeps you engaged and embedded in understanding exactly what it is that they're facing every day.
Wonderful. Anyone else?
I would just say that I think the salespeople that are actually selling, the frontline salespeople, they get more training and attention than the leader themselves. I think what worries me a little bit is the leadership. I think they mentor, but I'm not sure that they get the right tools and training and attention from maybe a corporate office that we need that makes them a better person, a better leader.
Terrific. You've given some great insight into your challenges. And so now I'd like to be more forward-looking. Let's look at 2014. And we want to look at predictions. You can look at predictions from an industry basis. You can look at it from your organization, or you can look at it from your discipline. Any way you'd like to do it. Predictions.
I think from a luxury standpoint, we enjoyed really great growth this year, and hoping that we're going to enjoy that same type of growth next year. So there's that leisure trend I think is going to continue to explode, the experiential side, the way the customers are making their buying decisions in terms of what the hotel is offering and the experiences that we're creating for them.
So continued upward growth.
Yes.
All right, wonderful.
I agree with that, and I also, we see the booking window still very short in the corporate America. You know, years ago, corporate would book 2-3 years out. Now, you were booking huge pieces of business 9 months out, which was never, you know, the case. So it's training your salespeople how to handle that when the big lead comes in and it's so short term, and there's a lot of pieces to the puzzle, especially in an organization, our hotel as large as the one we have. It's just, you know, but going back to the sales 101 and picking up the phone and listening to their needs, because it's all the implied needs that we don't see on a piece of paper. So I think that, like I said, technology is so wonderful, but I think we still need to take that personal touch and pick up the phone and read between the lines and get the actual information from the customer.
Wonderful.
And something we talked about earlier today was just the online bookings of group business. I think that will something that will really have some traction next year. Maybe it won't happen till the end of next year, or maybe 15, but just the events of the world, the Expedias, the booking of small groups online with less human intervention than we've been used to.
So it's a reality, just win.
I believe so. I believe so. And again, it goes back to something we talked about earlier, is that it's not a bad thing, but how much cost will be associated with that as we're all trying to control costs more. So there's some challenges ahead.
Yeah. And I'd just add, you know, I think the pace of change is going to continue to stay as it is or even accelerate. And I think as leaders, it's how do we prepare our teams to take that in and accept that and move forward in the appropriate way, the right way with that. And then I think picking up on something Ruth said, the basics are still going to be important no matter what. We've got to fulfill those basics always.
It's interesting, if you think about predictions, that always comes up. We always talk about it being relevant. I'm not sure as an industry, again, how much we listen to that prediction.
And respond to it.
Any others? Those are all wonderful. If not, we're going to move on to the third area of our discussion, and that area is very personal to each one of you. And that's the benefits of Hospitality Sales and Marketing Organization International. So you're in leadership positions within the organization, either on the Americas board, some of you may also be on the foundation board. But personally, let's go there first. What's the benefit of HSMAI to you?
Well, our hotels are dispersed everywhere throughout, you know, the country, throughout the world. And at the center, if you would, of a lot of our organizations are brands and brand training programs, brand resources, but they tend to be geographically specific. So HSMAI allows us to have access to training, to special forums, to presentations and speakers that are accessible to such a high percentage of salespeople, no matter where they live.
Wonderful.
I think just even when you look at the chapter level, giving sales managers and sales professionals an opportunity to be in a leadership role before they're ever put into that leadership role. When we talk about the lack of training for leaders, but it gives them that opportunity to lead teams or lead projects and learn from some of their peers and some of the best in the industry. So.
You know, I think that's something that the association needs to exploit more, if you will, and that is because we've become such leaner organizations, the chapter really allows their members to have people that they can watch and learn from that they may not have in their own organization. And that's something that didn't occur years ago when I first joined, because our organizations were populated much more differently.
I agree with that. I have not really been involved in the local chapters as much, and I think that would be something I'd like to see improve. But for me, what's so great about being part of the organization is that they allow us to bring issues front and center, and they help craft a solution, and maybe that's only a white paper, maybe that's just awareness, but for me it's just tackling things that are all meaning to us individually, no matter if you're in a marketing or revenue management or sales organization, but allowing them to kind of take our feedback and create synergy and put things front and center. I think it benefits us, I think it benefits everybody outside of our circle, our board as well. I mean, it's everybody in the industry benefits from it.
I agree with that. I think that bringing these groups of people together through this organization really continues to move this business forward in terms of our industry and puts thought leaders in leadership roles so that those folks that are on property and in the local chapters do have mentors and a career pathing that they can follow with their peer group.
And building on that, I'd say the connections you make that you may not have otherwise made, you know, whether it's to network for leadership development or to network on an idea, talk about an idea you had and have someone else weigh in and offer some thought leadership on that.
You know, we have so little time in our jobs to actually think and discuss because we're so do-oriented, regardless of the level you're at. That's one of the things I love about being on the board, for an example, is you actually can have a conversation with some depth about an issue. And that's a rarity anymore, unfortunately.
Well, I think that we become so focused on our individual properties or individual brands that this platform is great to learn how other companies, what their viewpoints are, what's happening in the United States, what's happening in the industry, and not just in our own little zone.
Well, terrific. Thank you all very much.